The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.
Tonight on The Agenda.
I'm worried about the fact that we're not actually enabling the industry in the way that the rest of the world is, knowing that AI is coming and it's foundational in terms of what needs to happen. And so it's $2 billion. Sure, it's great for Canada. It's not great comparatively.
Then, later.
I asked about a heat pump a year ago when I had somebody come to service my air conditioner. When you tell someone that you would like a pump, that requires like immediate explanation. It was a very awkward exchange.
The federal government recently announced a $2.4 billion investment in artificial intelligence. It includes money earmarked to accelerate the adoption of AI in sectors as far-flung as healthcare and agriculture. The feds say this will help to, quote, secure Canada's AI advantage. But does Canada even have an advantage in AI compared to our neighbors? Are Canadian companies and industries doing enough to embrace this technology? And is there a potential downside if we embrace AI too quickly? Lots of questions to consider, and for that we welcome Ajay Agrawal, the Jeffrey Tabor Chair in Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the U of T's Rotman School of Management and faculty affiliate at the Vector Institute for Artificial Intelligence. Krista Jones, Chief Delivery Officer at the Mars Discovery District, and Christina McElhairn, Assistant Professor of Strategic Management at the U of T Scarborough and Rotman School of Management. She's also faculty affiliate at the Schwartz Reisman Institute for Technology and Society. Boy, have we got the right people here for this conversation. Welcome, everybody, to TVO tonight. Let's just, Sheldon, can I get you to put this graphic up? We want to just sort of unpack the $2.4 billion to accelerate Canada's artificial intelligence sector that the feds just announced, and here it comes. $2 billion to build and provide access to computing capabilities and technological infrastructure. There's $200 million to boost AI startups and accelerate AI adoption in critical sectors. $100 million in AI Assist program to help small and medium-sized businesses scale up and incorporate AI. There's $50 million to provide new skills training for workers in potentially disrupted sectors and communities, and another $50 million to create a new so-called Canadian AI Safety Institute. And according to the feds, all of this will, quote, help Canada stay in the lead on AI. And I guess, Ajay, I want to ask you, that presupposes we are in the lead. Are we?
Well, first off, Steve, thanks very much for having me here. So first of all, we were certainly in the lead when all this started. Much of it started here in Canada. And if you think about the different domains of AI, on research, I would say we are still a leader. So we are one of several countries that is certainly on a per capita basis. We're doing very well on the research side. On the commercialization, so think of startups and companies that are pioneering new solutions using AI. We are probably holding our weight. In other words, in terms of our relative size, we're doing quite well. On the adoption of AI, I would say we are doing reasonably poorly. So in terms of like large enterprise, relative to their peers in some other places, particularly the United States, we're falling behind.
I've got some numbers that I'm going to share with everybody on that in just a moment, talking about the Canadian-American difference here. What do you think? Are we in the lead, as the federal government seems to suggest we are?
I kind of have to agree with Ajay on this one. Although I think that on the startup side, the problem that we have on the startup side is that our startup ecosystem is behind on the commercialization aspect of it. If you think about, we lead in research, or one of the leaders in research, and we lead in the product dev side of startups. But when you actually do the commercial activities, that's where I think we're falling down, especially in AI, is when you look at the business cases, you look at putting the money behind, whether it's building our domestic companies or actually encouraging our existing existing companies to adopt it. So I would say that I think on the startup side, I'm not as optimistic that we're holding our own. I think we're a little behind.
That feels like a very Canadian story, that we are always sort of last to the party to commercialize stuff that we've taken the lead in. Do you agree that's where we're at?
There's some of that going on, but if you look at the raw statistics on adoption, we're actually not doing too badly compared to, say, the US. But I agree with Ajay here that the gap between invention and use is something to be a little bit concerned about. And while we're seeing lots of great development and innovation, the use in production is what's lagging really everywhere, but it's particularly a bit behind here in Canada.
In which case, let's ask the question, why?
Is that for me? All right. Look, I think that adoption is hard, and it's changed a lot very recently. So, for example, 5 years ago, when I would be meeting with CEOs and boards of directors of large enterprise on building AIs, the number one issue was, do we have the data? Do we have the data to train our AI models? And there's a lot of pre-work to get everything ready before they even could implement an AI solution inside their organization. That's changed a lot. So ever since, particularly with the arrival of these foundation models, like language models like ChatGPT, we were able to build usable models with much less data much more quickly. And so that has really just changed the whole environment for implementation just in the last 24 months. And so, so when you ask the question, why are we behind? Right now, I think everyone's scrambling, trying to figure out how to do this. Companies that are already very tech forward in other domains seem to be the ones who are picking it up the most quickly.
You referenced the fact that we seem to be behind the United States, and here's a KPMG study that shows, and I guess, Krista, I'll get you to comment on this here, 35% of Canadian companies it surveyed had adopted some form of AI by February of last year, 35%. In the States, that number is 72%. Why?
Well, I think it comes to the makeup of our industry. In the state, if you look at the S&P, it's 90% is in the intangible market. And in Canada, we're nowhere near at that level of having businesses that have technology at their core. And that stems from the last 15 to 20 years when our companies have lagged behind digitization just in general, just the adoption of digital, the adoption of cloud, of SaaS. So we're just seeing the continuation of that.
The adoption
of SaaS, software as a service, where you actually don't develop it and have it inside your prem, but you actually rent the use of a software application from another organization. So that's, and so from my perspective, it's the makeup of the fact. I think there's a stat that there's $9 trillion of GDP created through technology and healthcare globally. We don't have those headquartered companies here in Canada, right? If you look at it, and that's double what you're seeing in electricity, resources and financial services, which is where we tend to be strong. So what we're suffering from when you look at all those stats is that we don't have the medium-sized, the large-sized companies in the area where AI is rapidly being adopted globally.
That sounds very discouraging. Should we be discouraged?
Well, I'm not sure I agree with the statistics. That's a tough word to say. I do a lot of work with the U.S. Census Bureau and thinking about how we measure this very systematically. And a lot of the headline statistics are a little bit overblown, that if we look at what's actually happening in use in production, the numbers are lower and the speed is a little bit slower. So in the midst of all this rapid change, and things have changed so much in the past 24 months, there's still a space to take a breath and a space to understand that while the technology is capable of many things, the firm use is still coming at a little bit slower rate. And I don't think we need to sit back and panic that this is happening everywhere all at once. And we've been measuring this over time, and we saw, for instance, in 2017, in the US, the adoption was only in the single digits, even though we saw these scary numbers coming out of these consulting firms. And as we recheck over time, it's coming, and it's definitely building in the larger firms, but it is not taking off at this level of 75%. We're much closer to a quarter, or maybe 30, 40% in the most intensive areas, industries or bigger firms.
Let's see where the rubber hits the road here. For example, if I were to say to you, I'm sure there are farmers watching us, and artificial intelligence is going to be part of their present or future. Could you explain how AI can help a farmer?
Absolutely. I can pick 2 or 3 different examples of companies that are actually targeting farmers today. There's Bugmars, a female-founded company in our RBC Women in Clean Tech program that's actually looking at insect farms, because we know that protein for the future and having that in climate sustainable ways is insects is a big part of the future of food. And what they do is they actually help farmers see the state of what's happening inside their farm so that they can get ahead of problems that might occur. They look at moisture levels, they look at kind of some of the pests that are inside. They can get and that's something that would take humans walking around, observing, where you just don't have the time to be able to react when your farms are spread out. There's people doing work in companies that are doing work in lighting and making sure that you have the right lighting kind of at the right time. In Canada, we have greenhouses, and because we don't have the same sun all year long, and we can use lighting now to make sure that you mimic kind of the regular ways of doing it. So an AI is partly being able to read the data, look at all the stuff, see what's happening, and actually apply it so that we get better yields and better results from the work that we're already doing.
Gotcha. Ajay, what about healthcare? How can AI help in healthcare?
Great. Well, healthcare, I think, is, in my view, the category where there is the most headroom for benefiting. In other words, given the size of that industry, of how much we spend here in Canada, US, all the OECD countries spend on healthcare, and the level of efficiency, there's the most to gain from AI. So far, as far as I can tell, it's been amongst the slowest adopter. It's because it's so regulated. And there's so many bizarre incentives in the healthcare system where you introduce and we've already demonstrated in the lab so many dimensions in which AIs are better than docs. So for your viewers who aren't as familiar with how AI works, think of AI as basically a prediction technology. It uses computational statistics to do prediction. Diagnosis, the very first thing, no matter what you're sick with, you show up at your doc, the very first step is diagnosis. That's a prediction problem. So doc doesn't know exactly what's wrong. They look at you, they might run some tests, they ask you questions, and they're trying to predict what's the problem. And so AI has been outperforming docs in early detection of breast cancer, early detection of MS and Alzheimer's, early detection of diabetes. And in all of these cases, they demonstrate in the lab, but so far, very little application because of all the restrictions. And for example, things like reimbursements. Like, well, how are we going to change the reimbursement system? And how does insurance get affected if we have AIs that, that are making these diagnoses? So lots of non-technical barriers to bringing this in.
Should we be bringing in fewer regulations or take away some of these obstacles to allow this to flourish more?
Well, I think there's really this recognition we need to have that the technology is advancing exponentially, but organizations still advance rather linearly. So there's regulation and there's regulatory frictions, of course, but there's also just the frictions of what happens inside an organization when you're trying to change the process, innovate in the process that has to use the new technology. We saw this with the internet, that came through like a wildfire, and it was everywhere all at once. But to deploy it and put it inside firms and to put it inside systems, and when you're trying to get people to work together in a system or firms to work together in a value chain, you have to coordinate and orchestrate everyone to move forward. If you've got a bottleneck in one place, it's going to slow the entire thing down. And I think that's what we're grappling with in lots of sectors and lots of applications. And the solutions won't be universal. They'll be very particular to an application or an industry or a firm. And recognizing all that unevenness, I think, is something that we need to start with and be very creative in our approach to solving.
And let me just to build on Christina's point, to offer some people some hope. I've, for example, recently saw some great examples of what she described at Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, where they've got 4 different lighthouse projects where they're deploying AI and addressing all the things Christina's talking about in terms of all the non-technical human aspects. For example, early detection of cardiac arrest, triage at the front desk when you're checking in. So in other words, predicting which patients will need which types of things even before a doc's available, so that they can start moving them through the process. And so many of the hurdles that they had to overcome in implementing these at SickKids were non-technical. They were people-related frictions, because they had to adapt the system in order to accommodate the technology.
Krista.
I do think that one of the strengths that Canada's AI ecosystem has in what's called applied AI. We hear a lot about Gen AI, but then there's the applied AI, which is solving some of these problems, which is kind of between point solutions and systemic change. And there's a couple of companies I just want to mention that are helping us get some of the great innovations that are happening in breast cancer treatment to the market faster. If you think about Altus Labs, that is doing some great work in trying to use for clinical trials and trying to use imaging as a way, and think about a human trying to sort through hundreds of people's data on imaging. So they're using AI to be able to do that, to get faster results into the clinical trials, to get better outcomes so that we can get it in the hands of patients faster. There's Sidiance, which is, I think I said that right. I hope I didn't mispronounce that company's names, but there is Sidiance, who's actually doing it to help people look at regulatory filings around clinical trials globally on the regulatory front, to help get through those barriers, because the barriers have usually been driven. There's the need for humans to adapt, but there's also just been so much information, but that's so siloed, and it's really hard for the humans and the processes to absorb all of that data. And that's what AI does, is it empowers the human in the process, and we need to get people understanding that that's what the future of working in an AI-enabled society is going to be.
Let me read this tweet here. This is from someone who works at a venture capital firm in Silicon Valley. And Sheldon, here we go. Thanks for putting this up. Today, I met a company where the founder literally made me describe an app in text, and 20 minutes later, the entire app, back end and front end, was made and fully functional. Feels like the industrial revolution of software engineering. Okay, Christina, start us off on this. Will we look back on the era of massive teams of coders building an app, much like the way we look at the pre-industrial era today?
Well, I think when you frame it like that, people get a bit scared. They get sort of resistant to that whole model because they think this is going to come in and take away jobs or replace people. But actually, when I look at this, I think about my washing machine. So I have a washing machine that washes clothes so much better, faster than I could by hand. And I'm not mad at it. I'm not worried that it's going to take away anything from my productivity. In fact, it allows me to do many other more enjoyable, more creative, more important work.
But you know why? Because we understand what a washing machine is, and we understand there are jobs in the creation of that machine. We don't know that about this.
We're figuring it out. And I think there's lots of choices. And there will be places where this will replace human labor. This will replace certain software engineers in certain tasks, for sure. But there's also so much opportunity. And I think if we over-focus on the loss or the replacement, we're going to miss the opportunity to find that complementarity, that co-intelligence, as Ethan Mollick calls it, where we can have an assistant that helps us do more, better, faster.
But, and you have to look at it from the concept of, if we go back to the era of the coder, where like the apps that were being created just by those coders building it up overnight were not the things that were solving breast cancer, and they weren't the things that were solving some of the more harder problems that society has. So I look at the natural evolution of a whole professional discipline, where they started out, you got people interested in coding, and that became something, it became ubiquitous. And now the people that got really interested, they went into software engineering, and you could see the building of the skill set. And so right now, a lot of the coders that I talk to, they don't want to do that app at the front end. Like, they don't want to do that. They want to do the meatier problems, and they're evolving. So this is about the natural evolution, I think, of that industry. It had its time when the coding side blew up in terms of what the app is happening. And now I think we see that part of the productivity as essentially being solved. And we're trying to focus that mind that thinks in that logical way to some of the harder problems. And that's where you go from being a coder to being a software engineer to being an AI scientist, and you start to see that evolution of people. So for me, it's a natural evolution of skills.
Is coding no longer the sexy profession it once was?
Well, I mean, certainly your example is not a trivial It's not a trivial point. And, you know, Christine and I were trained very similarly, and we both recite from the Gospel of economics on this, which is everybody starts with talking about agriculture and reminding everyone that, remember, over 50% of us worked in agriculture. Today, less than 2% of us work in agriculture, and yet most people want a job, still have one. And aren't we glad that we don't all still work in agriculture? There's so many other things, like, in other words, nothing wrong with agriculture, but many other things to do. My concern, and I sort of, up until, I would say, a year ago, would recite the same perspective that Christina shared, and Krista, is that the reason that VC tweeted that thing is because it shocked him or her. And the reason it's shocking is because it's happening so fast. And all the times when we've gone through this before, the technological development has, A, taken a longer time, and B, be narrowly focused in particular areas. This thing, that thing that does automated the software generation is a foundational model that can write software, can also make slides, can produce the script for the show, that can prepare all of the interview notes to help you prep for today's session. In other words, it can do all those things. And you open the show by talking about a $2 billion investment by the Canadian government. The company that did that raised $1 billion from Microsoft in 2019, another $2 billion in 2021, another $10 billion in 2023. Okay, they're a tiny company, originally not-for-profit company. So in other words, $13 billion to one company. And we're having this show because the Canadian government at a national level is putting in $2 billion, okay? Another company of a similar type, only founded 3 years ago, Anthropic, just closed $4 billion, $1.5 billion in 2021 when they started, and another 2.75 from Amazon investment last year in 2023. So $4 billion for one startup company that's doing this, a foundational capability to write software, to write scripts, to read essays, all this stuff.
So if we look at the numbers, this does not look like a pond that we can play in.
It just, I just want to raise the possibility that the normal script that people like Christina and I recite in settings like this, where don't worry, we've had innovation before, we've been through all this before, I'm not sure if this falls in the same category because of how fast and how broad it's moving.
Okay, you want to take that on? Well,
it is fast. And so if you wanted us to have a friendly argument, we're probably in violent agreement on most of these things.
Only if you want to.
I do agree with Ajay that the speed is concerning, that it's hard to adapt, and it's hard to adapt to such big changes really quickly. This is a call for focusing on this and bringing our creative juices to bear and having all these conversations. But I don't think panic serves. I'm going to take a page out of Taylor Swift's book and say, you need to calm down. That if we don't sort of take a breath and bring all these concerns out, of course, but if we just, tumble forward into a frenzy, I don't know that we're going to solve these big problems.
Krista.
Though I'm not sure that taking a breath with the rapid pace of what the rest of the world is doing is actually the approach Canada should take. I actually think that this is a race that's happening globally, and we are getting left behind in terms of the speed in which other governments are actually allocating resources into this area. So when I look at the ability to take a breath, I'm like you. I'm naturally an optimistic person. I tend not to be one that cries wolf or gets scared about those kinds of things. But right now, I'm worried for the future of Canada. I'm worried for my children. I'm worried for what's happening because we're falling behind.
What are you worried about in terms of your kids?
I'm worried about the fact that we're not actually enabling the industry in the way that the rest of the world is, knowing that AI is coming and it's foundational in terms of what needs to happen. And so it's $2 billion. Sure, it's great for Canada. It's not great comparatively in terms of where we want to be, is my personal take on this.
And I can imagine a lot of people watching this right now and listening to it are panicking because A, they don't understand it, and B, they are sure that with all of the talk around this and the inevitability of it, that their jobs are going to disappear because of it. Now tell them why they shouldn't panic about that.
Well, historically, as Ajay said, and as our training and we've been studying technological change for a minute, and we have always figured it out. But I do agree with Krista that we can't just sit back on, we can't rest on our heels here and watch this all unfold. We do need to lean forward and to really figure out what the jobs of the future are. I think a big challenge is going to be in how we train people. So I'm an educator, and AI came into my classroom really quickly, and many people decided that the approach to that was to put the brakes on and say no. And I think a more productive approach, with the one I tried to take, is to actually require my students to play around with ChatGPT, to try to get familiar with the technology. You said we get to use our washing machines because we understand them. Well, if we approach the technology and work with it, that understanding will start to unfold, and we can start to get better, faster, I hope, at training people to work with the technology and find the new jobs that they need to fill.
Wait a second. So first of all, I'm not convinced that panic is a bad thing. Okay, so in other words, it's being described here as if panic would be a bad thing. I think a bad thing would be to people to watch this on their television and then just flick the channel and go watch something else and say, oh, well, in other words, in my view, this is moving sufficiently fast. It's going to affect everybody at some level. There should be panic, but panic can be productive. Like, in other words, what's the flip side of panic? It could be lethargy is not the right word, but
complacency.
Complacency. Okay, so complacency, if you think of complacency as the flip side of the coin to panic, if I had to pick one of those right now for Canada,
go for panic.
I would go for panic.
Absolutely.
Okay, and channel the panic into a productive way. So I also don't think that even if it comes roaring in and affects a lot of things, like, in other words, slow, people hardly notice it, and all of a sudden, bam, fast, that would also, I'm not sure, in other words, I don't view that as a bad thing. I think our healthcare is in very rough shape in terms of the demand and versus supply for healthcare capabilities. If we had a very significant overhaul to healthcare, I think Canada would be much better off, province by province. Same with education. Same, you brought up agriculture at the beginning. Same with agriculture. So I don't think that even if it were to roll in and have significant disruptive change on all these industries, that on balance, Canada would be worse off. I think it would be better off.
I'm down to my last minute here, so let me put this to you. One of the last things we had on that list there was this notion of an AI Safety Institute. Because we have heard people like the U of T's Geoffrey Hinton say that he's actually quite terrified as you look down the road at what potentially this all could turn out to be. How big a concern is that for you?
So, safety is always a big concern. We've been concerned about privacy since the onset of the internet. Unfortunately, consumers don't seem to be as worried about privacy as those of us who actually study it in interesting ways. I actually think that's one of the areas where we've underfunded ourselves, is the ability to do it. But the natural positive optimist in me, in Canadian researchers and innovators, is that we actually have tech for good and the use of tech in a responsible way at the core of a lot of the businesses that we're creating. So my way of kind of getting around it is to say, hey, look, let's deal with Canadian researchers, let's deal with Canadian entrepreneurs, and let's get that kind of element at the core. And I do think we need to spend some more money on the longer term implications of what we're trying to do on the research side.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Xavier, and I'm in grade 10. AI is becoming increasingly integrated into our daily lives, and of course, that impact will be felt more on the traditional work side, but how will that impact be felt on the creative side, the art side? For example, within the literary arts.
My name is Valentine Goddard. I'm the founder and executive director of AI Impact Alliance, which is a nonprofit that I founded in 2017. And the goal was to study the different implications of AI, so the ethical, social, cultural, the legal implications of artificial intelligence. My opinions, my 2 cents, as an artist and as a lawyer, I wear both hats. So as you can see in my studio behind me, I use normal paint, analog paint. I use watercolor, acrylics, collage, film, 16 millimeter film. But then I also use artificial intelligence, and I use Runway ML. It's free. It's really fun to explore when you want to input your own art, for example, an image, and then a short video that you might have done of yourself moving, dancing, and then see what the resulting image or video is. So I've been doing a lot of that kind of research. And one of the questions, the ethical implications that I think is really important to consider is I don't think these tools enable everybody to tell their story in the same way. For example, if I put an image of a young girl, like let's say 8 or 9 years old, and it's a drawing I made of a little girl, the variations will age her, she might become a young adult all of a sudden. Sometimes it even takes their pants off. If I input an image of a beautiful Black woman, her skin after different variations might become whiter. When you prompt it for words like leader, very often the image that will come out will be of white men. So there's biases in what is being produced. So as an artist, as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, you were talking about literary arts, that bias is also perceptible. So if you ask ChatGPT, for example, to finish a story with different family members, the end of the story will pick up on traditional roles that have been changing in the past many decades. So we have to remember that these tools will tell stories of the past. And if we want to talk about the future, I really think that as artists and cultural content creators, it will be our role to help these tools tell better stories and tell stories for everyone.
Are you excited enough about heating and cooling your home that you'd go to a party to talk about it? We dropped in on some heat pump enthusiasts who definitely are.
We're going to a heat pump party.
What's a heat pump party?
Not very many people know what a heat pump is. A bunch of neighbors are gathering to learn the challenges, to extol the virtues, basically understand why heat pumps are so important in this day and age. All right, I'm going to park this truck now.
Hi, I want to say welcome and thank you to all you lovely heating and cooling enthusiasts who have gathered here to learn about the wonder that is the heat pump. The second heat pump party on Montrose Avenue. What is a heat pump party? It's like a Tupperware party, but adapted to embrace modern machinery. We know that the way people make these decisions is by talking to their neighbors, learning about whether they like the machines they've installed in their homes. And so I think one of the best ways to get to know the technology and see that it's not a scary thing at all, it's a beautiful machine that heats and cools your house and is 3 to 5 times as efficient as your furnace and saves you a ton of money and doesn't burn fossil fuels, is to see the heat pumps in action. And so I have a hybrid unit, and my wonderful neighbor Katie across the street has a cold climate, which are the two basic kinds. Who doesn't have one here? Who knows what a heat pump is? You have one.
Oh, I asked about a heat pump a year ago when I had somebody come to service my air conditioner. When you tell someone that you would like a pump, that requires like immediate explanation. It was a very awkward exchange. Anyway, I asked about this heat pump. I was immediately told not to get one because, and anyway, so I'm here out of, like sadness, but I don't know how it works. It hasn't ever totally made sense to me. I feel like there's heat that comes up from the ground.
That's geothermal, but very, very good. And you should not feel guilty. You should not feel guilty. The reason we have these parties is because, like, this is the thing. We have, you know, a status quo of a certain type of machinery that gets installed, and if you don't know, like, you trust experts. When you go to the dentist, you ask them what you need, and they tell you you have a cavity and I will fill it. When you go to a contractor or an HVAC person, they're going to tell you this is the best technology on the market, and I would hazard a guess that most of us here are not heat pump experts. So if someone who's been doing this for 30 years tells you you should do this, you're like, okay, fine, do that thing. And they say it's high efficient because it is. Like, a high efficiency gas furnace is still better than a low efficiency gas furnace. So I think I've also done things like this and been like, oh, I'm locking in, you know, I've locked in this pollution for another 20 years and inhibited myself from the cost savings. But every time we have these conversations, we open people up to this so they will make the right decisions going forward. A heat pump is basically just a mechanism by which we pull the heat from the outside and use it to warm our house when it's cold out. Just imagine a gnome carrying the heat in and then carrying it. And I was like, that's like a very lovely visual, and I'll just imagine gnomes carrying, but that's all it is.
Heat pumps, let's expand on how they work. Heat is just air molecules bouncing around. Even in minus 460 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 238 degrees Celsius, heat molecules do exist. So how this works? A heat pump is a single appliance that can replace both a traditional air conditioner and a home heating system like a gas furnace or a boiler. As Sarah mentioned, heat pumps move heat. In the winter, it moves heat from outside your home to inside your home, making it warmer inside. And in the summer, it moves heat from inside to outside, cooling your house down.
So Sarah asked earlier who here does not have a heat pump, and it's kind of a trick question because all of you have at least one heat pump, probably 3 in your home. Really? So your fridge has a heat pump in it, and your freezer has a heat pump. That's how they work. So heat pumps have been around as long as we've had air conditioning and fridges, basically. It's all the same technology. It's really doing, we think about it as cooling our food, and that's of course the end result, but what it's really doing is it's taking the heat inside the fridge and it's pumping it out the back. And your freezer is doing the same thing. So you think like, well, how can a heat pump be, you know, heating my house when it's minus 5 degrees? Your freezer is minus 18 degrees, and it is still, the heat pump is taking the heat inside that minus 18 degree compartment, and it's pumping it out the back. So you got a heat pump recently, right?
I got a heat pump.
You put in a cold climate heat pump, correct?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we're very excited about it.
I did join the heat pump revolution.
How's the heat pump working out for you?
It is fantastic in every way.
Great. What kind of heat pump did you get?
I got a Move Air 2-ton cold climate heat pump.
Great. And how's that working for you?
You know what? It's working out really well.
Yep.
There definitely is a little bit of an education curve, but I'm happily on it.
How's it working out for you?
It's great. This was like 4 years ago, and at that point there was, I mean, you're sort of hearing about heat pumps all the time right now, but I was into heat pumps before anyone was into heat pumps. Not before you were into heat pumps.
Trendsetter. No, it's good. I know we've had a bit of a mild winter, but it's heating your home okay?
Yeah, and that's remarkable considering this house was built in 1910, and we've done some weatherization, but like not nearly enough. So pretty impressed with it.
My mission, my challenge, the challenge I set myself was to get the biggest emissions reducing bang for my buck, sort of to do the most impact for the least amount of money. And so I did need a new air conditioner. So that was, I had like a 1,000-year-old climate crime in my backyard. I found it really difficult to find information about air source heat pumps, and I got really, I'm not a sciencey person, and so I was really proud of myself for kind of digging in, and I went to TRCA websites and city websites, and I took webinars and stuff like that, but it was tough. But I eventually came to feel that the ducted hybrid was the way to go for us. I like it. I mean, I love my hybrid, but I did hope that it would go a little bit lower.
I see.
That it would be able to heat heat for a little bit lower temperatures.
So right, so you know the heat pump heats most of the time, but then when it gets really cold, you got to switch over to the gas furnace. Around what temperature approximately do you switch over?
Well, when I was researching it, I got such a wide variety of estimates of what the capacity of the machine was. Some people said, oh, you'll never get below 0.
Right.
And some people were like, oh, you could get -10. And so I was like, oh, maybe I could get -7.
Right.
But it turns out it's about -3.
Okay.
Or it was about -3 for a year, but then I've done some tweaks on my thermostat.
Okay.
So at first, I can't believe I like talking about things like this. But I do, I'm obsessed.
Everyone needs a hobby.
All right, air source heat pumps, who knew?
You know, it's funny that you say that the people talked about the different equipment and at what point they change over. And this is something I think a lot of people miss is they talk about the equipment a lot, but there's the other side of it is the house, right? So it's like, it's all about how insulated your house is. So you can have the best equipment possible, but if your house is really leaky, you're still gonna have to switch over to backup heating source. But if your house is really, really well insulated, then a more modest piece of equipment will do. So, you know, even if you got the hybrid and you still have the gas furnace, you could still do a lot in your home to tighten it up, and then yeah, exactly.
Gosh, there is a lot of information that people need to be getting to. So thank you, Sarah, for having this Tupperware heat pump party.
It's a lot of info for sure, and it's confusing, right? There's a lot of stuff. Typically, a home, if you think about a home, over a course of a year will consume, let's say, 100 units of energy. Right. 60 of those units will be for space heating, 20 will be for hot water, and then 20 will be for lighting and appliances. So space heating is like the biggest one by far. It's over half. And that's why like heat pumps are really important if you want to, you know, lower your utility bills or you want to reduce your greenhouse gases. That's where heat pumps are really important. And then next, it's hot water.
That sounds so logical and also really economical. And so my question is like, why, where is the heat pump lobby?
The HVAC business is not a big margin business. Yeah. It's a tough business. I think a lot of the contractors, you know, they're used to putting in furnaces. They're, you know, comfortable doing it. They're
good at it.
They're good at it, exactly. And they know that, you know, they're gonna put it in, it's gonna work.
Yep.
The heating's gonna be reliable. They're not gonna get any service calls. And, you know, that's the business, right? You know, like if you go to Texas, it's all heat pumps, right?
It is?
Oh yeah, yeah. People don't have gas furnaces in Texas. It's really the technology that makes sense, right? Like here, we've got extensive gas infrastructure. It's very reliable. It's been very inexpensive. And so gas has been a really good, you know, gas furnaces have served us very well in Ontario and in Canada for a long time. And now as people become more concerned about the environment and as, you know, the carbon price keeps increasing, it's starting to have, you know, things are switching a little bit and people are more interested in heat pumps. And, you know, people can save money if they have a heat pump that's sized properly, if their home is well insulated. You know, I think things are starting to switch, and we've seen that in the last couple of years where heat pump sales are starting to outgrow gas furnace sales and air conditioner sales. And that's really what we need to see more of is more, especially air conditioners. Like if, you know, really we shouldn't have any new air conditioner sales. It should at least be a heat pump being put in instead of air conditioners. Any savings on the, yeah?
Oh, yes. Yes, I save over $100 a month.
Wow.
Because I'm completely off of gas now. So I have an electric water tank, which has a timer that only heats my water during the cheapest times of the day. And, you know, the heat in my house is generated by a heat pump. So I pay less for electricity now than I paid for only gas. when I had a furnace.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A hybrid unit costs so much less than a cold climate, and obviously my next unit will be a cold climate, but for now, getting this hybrid has been great because better AC and basically heats my house most of the year except for a couple days when it happens to get cold, but those days are fewer and fewer.
Yeah, no, I love the hybrid option, and we recommend that for a lot of homeowners, especially when someone's air conditioner is getting old and they're thinking about replacing it, but their furnace, like in your situation where your furnace is not
that old.
It's not time to replace it yet, right?
Yeah.
And so if your furnace is not end of life, but your air conditioner is, you put in a heat pump to replace your air conditioner, and as you said, right, you've got the heat pump is heating your home comfortably most of the year, and then you've got that reliable gas backup when it gets really cold, right? When the polar vortex comes,
yes,
it's there.
You're not worried.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's great. And have you noticed a reduction in gas use and greenhouse gases?
I very much have.
Yeah.
The first year, our gas usage went down by about 75 to 80%, which is kind of
incredible. Yeah.
So to the point of perfect enemy of the good, like you can't really, I can use paper straws my whole life, and then to see that, I was like.
Right.
I mean, still, paper straws are lovely, but like you see that and you really feel like, hey, I've done something meaningful to bring down my emissions.
Right. Yeah. No, that's great. Any impact on your utility bills at all?
Definitely a huge reduction in my gas bill, especially because I only use it in those cold months, so it's basically nil. And our electricity bill is remarkably not so high considering, I hear the pump running all the time, so I was wondering, what those costs would look like.
Do you have an idea of how much you may have saved with your hybrid system?
Well, I also got, the following year, I got an electric water heater. So I would say in combination with the air source heat pump and the getting off gas for water heating, I've reduced my greenhouse gas emissions from heating by 60%.
Oh, wow.
Which is amazing.
That's great. Fantastic.
Yeah. Which is, as I like to point out, the City of Toronto's 2030 target is 60%, I believe.
Doing your part.
I already did it.
Fantastic.
Air source heat pumps.
How do I get my landlord to inquire about one if I wanted her to get one?
So I think you have to start with what the current equipment is in the home. So like how old is the current equipment, right? So if you've got an air conditioner that is more than 12, 13 years old and it's almost, getting time to replace that piece of equipment, that's a really good time to start that conversation.
Start talking about thermal comfort and how nice it is to have like consistent airflow. And if they do care about climate, you can be like, hey, this is going to bring down your building's emissions considerably. You should consider it. And so I always think about like, what are the different factors that would motivate them? Probably for a landlord, it's going to be cost. Luckily, the equipment is coming down a ton and there are new incentives available. So even just being like, hey, did you know there are like incentives available to you to do this and to make your equipment and make your costs a lot cheaper, and you should avail yourself of this, what a bajillion-dollar rebate from the government in order to do this. So that kind of stuff.
Do you see this moving to apartment buildings?
Oh, it's already happening in apartment buildings.
It is.
Yeah, if you want to future-proof your business and your building, then you should be heat pumping it up.
Heat pump it up.
So if I switch, like my unit's not that old now, but if I switch, I've got all this forced air gas infrastructure and ducts and whatnot. Do I have to refit some other kind of infrastructure for a heat pump?
No, you don't. So you can use the existing ductwork. So like this home that we're in right now, for example, right? So there is a gas furnace and Sarah had an air conditioner and we lifted out the old air conditioner and we put in a heat pump, and it works in, we call it a hybrid or dual heating system, where the heat pump can handle heating the home most of the year. It cools the home just like an air conditioner would, but then when it gets really, really cold, the gas furnace comes on, and then you've got that gas heating.
So you would you'd have to have some sort of backup heating.
You'd have some sort of backup. So
You can't.
So Karen, I mean, like, yeah, if you've got a cold climate heat pump, then typically you'd put in an electric backup. So
Okay.
you'd still have kind of a furnace or like an air handler, but it'd be electric, and you wouldn't have gas supplied to it.
Yeah.
And then there'd be like backup electric coils that would come on as when it gets really cold.
Right.
Why doesn't the government make it so that they have to if they're retrofitting homes? And if they're in the new builds?
Excellent.
It just seems like a no-brainer.
I mean, politically, people don't like bans and it really rubs them the wrong way. But how can you just say, but instead, can you do like what they've done in the eastern provinces where, or just incentivize the heck out of it? $12,000 off a heat pump, you're going to get a heat pump.
Yeah.
Well,
we did
it here, and it's.
But didn't it just end?
So the Greener Homes Grant ended, yeah. So it was oversubscribed, right? The money went out the door quicker than they had anticipated, so they terminated the program.
But there's another option for some people,
There'll
right?
be another program that's geared towards lower and middle income residents. There still is a program now where you can get an interest-free loan. So you can get up to $40,000 interest-free. So it's a repayable loan over 10 years. And that's, you can use that for insulation or doors and windows or heat pumps or tankless water heaters or solar as well.
So I just recently bought a heat pump system. It's being installed like today, starting today. And my experience was when I was talking to contractors, they kind of made it sound like it was a premium like product, like that I was buying a Tesla, not a Toyota. And I'm a Toyota kind of person, and I needed to supplement my existing system. So I figured like this is like the right time to do it, and at least like it's kind of like a transition to non-gas kind of system, but this is my first step in like a longer journey, I guess.
Because you're putting in a ductless system.
Yeah, I'm putting on the top 2 floors will be the heat pump for hot and cold, and then the traditional furnace will I guess do the bottom, the basement, and the first floor, and then like hopefully I can reduce the usage and of that, and it'll just I'll have a more balanced kind of system. So, but I guess everybody has a unique situation with their heating and cooling situation.
Yeah, and we see that a lot with homes, especially older homes, where the 3rd floor especially gets really hot in the summer and really cold in the winter. And that's where a ductless system can really help as like to complement your ductwork in the home. So that's something that yeah, we recommend. To your point earlier about the premium product, there's no it definitely true. They come with a premium price. Like there's a higher capital cost associated with heat pumps versus kind of your furnace, and so I think the rebates were really good in helping to overcome that and bringing the capital cost down. I think what we find is that especially with a hybrid system, they should pay back over the lifetime of the equipment. So that definitely is something that, I mean, it all depends. Where do electricity prices go? Where do gas prices go? Where does the carbon price go? But if you make some reasonable assumptions, it should pay for itself over the lifetime of the equipment.
I was really excited about being part of the heat pump lobby, and I'm seeing the trouble ahead of us here. So in order to put a heat pump into my home, I would also have to have some kind of backup. So now I also have to have an electrical backup, possibly, unless I have the cold.
The cold climate's kind of built into it.
Yeah, it's built in.
Yeah.
I have a cold climate heat pump, and the backup system is built in.
So then shouldn't that just be the one that we talk about in Canada, full stop? Why isn't the unit that everybody gets just as a rule the cold climate heat pump?
I typically don't recommend a cold climate option for people who have a really leaky home. And that's where I think it makes more sense to have a hybrid heating where you've got both gas and a heat pump. So you've got your gas furnace as your backup. And that's just because if you've got a really leaky home, you're gonna be relying on that backup electric heat quite a bit. And you will see an increase in your electricity bill. That's gonna impact a lot of people, right? And so I find the hybrid is a better solution for, so it really depends on like who I'm speaking to, what's going on in their home, what's their existing, what does their existing ductwork look like. So there's a number of factors, and that's really where, I speak to each homeowner, what's their situation. You've got to send an experienced tradesperson out there to evaluate the home, look at what the options are, and then come up with some options and a solution that works for that homeowner.
Everything electric is getting better and better every second. So, your cold climate of 2 years ago is not going to be your cold climate of 2 years from now. So instead of the decision point being like, the best heating for the coldest day, it's going to be really uncomfortable to not have AC. If instead of getting an AC, you can get a heat pump that also happens to heat your house for the majority of the time, except on those really cold days, that's pretty darn awesome.
I was curious about maintenance costs.
Yeah, so you should be servicing your equipment once a year. And I've got ductless heat pumps in my home, and twice a year, we clean out the filters. I check those drains and make sure that they're clear and that liquid is still draining. So if you notice that liquid isn't draining when they're working, then there's potentially a problem. So yeah, long story short, get them serviced at least once a year and then do your own maintenance.
What's this?
So because it's a party and the famous Karen Robinson just celebrated a birthday, we baked a cake. Here's to Karen and her cold climate heat pump, joining the many Ontarians switching to heat pumps in a race to reach our 2030 carbon reducing targets.
I think, given what this party is about and, the advice of our experts and those of us who are already on the heat pump journey, I think you know what my wish is.
Still got it.
Tomorrow on the agenda.
My experience, which I have 6 aging parents in my life, is not an unusual one because there's different marriages and there's different systems and fewer children. And so that means we need to be really creative for how we actually help to support our aging parents and not assume that our healthcare system is going to do it for us.
That's tomorrow on the agenda.